Okay, let's double check. Everything's good to go. Let's see. And why don't I see? Are we live? Okay, I think we're good. Yes, we are. All right, I'm excited of this. Okay, hello everyone. Happy Sunday. First of all, happy Sunday to y'all. Hopefully you guys are enjoying some great weather. I'm gonna go live here on Instagram, and we will get started shortly. I always like to do my due diligence and start early on YouTube because sometimes I have technical difficulties, but I think we're good. So let me go ahead and go live. Oh no. Okay. Let me go ahead and go live on IG. So you can get this party on and popping. Yes. And going live. Okay. Hello everyone. Happy Sunday. It's your girl, or you're not your girl. Whichever one you choose. Taylor Nixon here, back with another episode of Takeaways with Tay, where I provide you with key takeaways from books that I've read so that you don't have to. This is the official book club for busy readers. So, all of my busy people out there, I consider myself a busy person. But yeah, all of my busy people, this is for you. This is for you. And today, you guys are in for a treat, a really good treat. Let me see what Instagram is doing here. We're telling your followers that you're started. Yes, please tell them. Okay. Um. So before we get into this book, I want to give some background information on the author here. So we're coming from Eight Rules of Love by Jay Shetty. And Jay Shetty, you may or may not be aware of him. He's a global best-selling author, award-winning podcast host of several podcasts. I believe he has like three different podcasts, and then he has amassed a following of over 50 million across social media platforms. He's known for making ancient wisdom relatable, practical, and easily accessible. So Jay Shetty is the author of this book here. Once again, the title is called Eight Rules of Love by Jay Shetty. So before we get into the takeaways of the book, I just want to like introduce all of this. Um, this gonna be one of them ones. Like simply, this is just an episode where it's gonna be legendary because we're talking about something that we all want, we all hope to have, and we all hope to come across someday in some kind of form, fashion, shape, whatever, and that's love. Um, how to cultivate it, how to recognize it, how to restore it if it's been lost, how to just all things love, right? So I'm super excited about this book, and I believe that there's so much in this book that I want to break it up into two sections. So first section we're going to talk about three takeaways that I got from the first part of the book, and then the second part of the book we'll talk about that next week. I just feel like there's just so much in the book, like so much good stuff, that I didn't want to shorthand you guys with the information that I'm gonna give today. So let's start with the first takeaway. Very first takeaway is become a student of yourself. So I'm gonna say that again. Become a student of yourself. Why is that important, right? When we're talking about love, when we're talking about relationships, and when I say eight rules of love, we're talking about romantic love. We're talking about, or at least just for starters. But why is it important to become a student of yourself, right? Like we're in this we have this takeaway here: become a student of yourself. So the thing about learning yourself is that in relationships is that you can't fully be in a relationship with someone. Send it to my DM I'm sorry. Yeah, send it to my DM and or yeah, DM me and I'll send you an email. Appreciate you for reaching out. But yeah, okay, so we can't necessarily be or exist in a relationship until we first learn ourselves, right? We have to know our tendencies, our patterns, um, what we like, what we don't like, and in order to communicate that to someone else who we might be interested in or who might be interested in us. So the book kind of touches on this basis of solitude and loneliness, and it defines the two, right? So it talks about how a lot of people don't like to be by themselves, right? So it distinguishes between the two. It says loneliness is the fear of being alone, and it creates feelings such as being insecure and is prone to bad decision making. While solitude, on the other hand, is you kind of glorify being alone, and your feelings are more open and curious about yourself and the world as opposed to running from being by yourself. And there was this study that the book talks about that was conducted. It says that researchers gave more than 500 visitors to an art museum a special glove that reported their movement patterns along with physiological data such as their heart rates. It says the data showed that when people were not distracted by chatting with companions, they had a stronger emotional response to the art. So essentially, they entered the art exhibit with all of their senses open and alert to a greater degree, as opposed to if it was just them and their partner, and they're kind of blindsided by what their partner sees. So it's not necessarily saying that it's a bad. The book isn't saying it's a bad thing to like explore the world with your partner, but it suggests that we're more alert. Our senses are more alert when it's just us, and we don't have the influences of another mind on our thoughts and our like what we're experiencing or how we see the world. And there's freedom in that. There's liberation in that, and there's something to be learned in that. It says that solitude gradually, let me see, overcome the influence of this world. Okay, so solitude, the book talks about how solitude is a way for us to gradually overcome the influences of this world. So like when we're little, when we are babies, of course, like we're new, we don't know anything, right? Everything that is poured into us becomes some type of influence, right? Whether it be our environment, our parents, the schools that we go to, the interactions that we have, all those things play a part into the impressions that we have in our brains, like of the world, and then those impressions influence our behavior. So I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit with that one because that's not the second takeaway. But I'm gonna go back to solitude and loneliness. There is a solution that the author Jay Shetty proposes for anyone who is experiencing loneliness. I think it's something that we all can relate to, and that it's not when you're experiencing it, you don't necessarily sometimes know how to get out of it. So, the path from loneliness to solitude proposed by the book says that we have to start with presence, and then we move from presence to discomfort, and then from discomfort to confidence. Now let's start with presence. Let me talk about what it means to be present. The book says that when you're present, you can sit with yourself. You can ask yourself questions such as, what are my time choices? How do I like to spend my time? Do I like to travel? Do I like to be on social media? Do I like to watch TV? Do I like to bird watch? Like, what is it that I do that I like to spend my time? What are my habits? Do I exercise? What are my sleeping habits? What are my eating habits? My organization, what does my room look like? How do I keep my space? How do I like to keep my space? How do I don't like to keep my space? Money, when it comes to money, how do I spend it? what are some things that like we like to spend our money on, right? So is it vacations? Are we a minimalist? Do we don't like to spend money? Like, you learn all these things about yourself when you're with yourself. Also, you can learn about like different social interactions. So you can learn if you enjoy social settings. Do you consider yourself an introvert, an extrovert? Do you like to be around friends? Do you like to be around family? Do you like to start conversations? Do you not like to start conversations? Like, all these things you can learn about yourself when you're in solitude, essentially. And all that information helps you take that and then communicate that to whoever it is your potential partner is, so that you can better cultivate this relationship with that person. So let's fast forward here. Okay, now this second takeaway. Let me just preface this with this is not for sensitive people. Okay, this is not for anyone who's not willing to take accountability or to look themselves in the mirror, because this second takeaway is going to be a trigger warning for some of you. And the second takeaway that I got from reading the book is, sometimes you are the problem. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes in relationships, in love, you are the problem. What do I mean by that? So let's talk about karma. Let's talk about what it means. And I'm just going to go based off of the book. The book says that karma is a mirror that shows us where our choices have led us. So we exist, right? We observe or absorb certain influences, and then an impression is created. Once that impression is created, it begins to influence our thinking. And then, depending on the exposure to that impression, it can grow. And then, with that growth, our behavior and decision making becomes affected. So now we have this impression. That impression is influencing our thinking, and that thinking is causing us to make decisions, and it's influencing our behavior that might not necessarily be things that are good for us. We might be doing it because we aren't aware that the impression exists, and so we're just acting. So I appreciated how much this book talks about the subconscious and how it affects our relationships, whether or not we believe it or not. It's like one of those things where if you don't know your trauma, if you don't know how your upbringing and things have shaped who you are, and the decisions that you make today, it's going to be very hard for you to get out of that karmic cycle of repeating past mistakes in relationships. And so I found that interesting because sometimes we think that we have bad luck when it comes to dating and relationships, and it's not that we have bad luck. It's we haven't looked at our role in our relationship. We haven't looked at the role that we play. We always look at the other person, we want to point the finger, we want to say you did this or you didn't do this, and then but we fail to look at ourselves and say, okay, well, what is it about me that even attracted you in the first place? Or like all of that, we have to consider all of that, right? So the book implies that impressions tell us, they have a tendency to tell us what love looks like, what it feels like, what's attractive, dorky, etc. And we love others in response to the way that we've been loved by others. So, how I love someone is based upon how someone loves me. How you love someone is is based upon how someone loved you. And when we can understand that, we can begin to understand the way that we love, the way that we like to love, and we can begin to respect other people for the way that they love. So the book implies, the author here, Jay Shetty, implies that there are different types of people that we may or may not date. So he starts off with the rebel, which is someone who completely bucks the system. And it's not necessarily like dating someone that a rebel is not necessarily a bad thing. But he implies, the author implies that it's delusional to expect someone known for adventure and mystery to give way to loyalty and responsibility. So it's like you can date the rebel, but when it comes to getting that loyalty and responsibility in the relationship, you can't, not that you can't expect it, but it's kind of arbitrary to expect it when you know that this is the character of this person and this is who you're choosing to date. So we have the rebel, we have the chase. The chase. This is someone who is emotionally or physically unavailable. Whew. A lot of that in 2024. This is someone who is emotionally or physically unavailable. And sometimes us being on the other side, we may be enchanted by this person, so we convince ourselves that they will stop and just suddenly give us their time, which is not realistic. But yeah, playing hard to get, essentially. Playing hard to get, and even if you're not playing, just not being available. But so let's just start with facts, right? The book says that there's no correlation with healthy long-term relationships. Playing hard to get, there's no correlation with that turning into a healthy long-term relationship. And I think that's important too, because like there's this like notion that if someone likes you, they're gonna keep trying and they're just gonna keep going after you, and eventually you're gonna give in. Like, I don't know, we have to like look at people, or look at people as humans, and understand that like this person is not going to keep, you can't expect this person to keep chasing you after you've decided, or that you're making it known that you're not really interested. And even if you are interested, you have to show that, you have to communicate that, you have to give this person something to work with. Like, you can't just act like it is what it is and just forever be a chase. Like, that's not gonna build what you want long term. And then let's see, we have the project. So this one is another huge one. This one is that you feel the need to save someone. So you're in a relationship with someone who's always needy. Like, they need something, right? And this plays into your nurturing side. So it makes you feel competent and in control. And once again, it's not necessarily bad short term, but long term, if there's no transformation from this person, you become essentially like, what do you call it? I don't want to call it a crutch. You over time, this person's just gonna keep sucking from you, just taking from you, and not replenishing, not giving you anything, because they're so needy. And so long term, it's not good. Now, Jay Shetty, the author, proposes a solution here for basically when we're dating, like a solution to help vet out potential interests. And that solution is called the 3-date rule. And it focuses on 3 areas. So it focuses on learning a person's personality, learning what their values are, and then learning if you would like to help them achieve their goals. Now, it says that we should like go on these dates separately. It's like you should have 3 separate dates for each one, and on each date you're like, getting this information about this person and deciding if you want to help that person, if you like their personality, and if you respect their values. Now, of course, this is not something that's like by the book, by Bible, you have to do it this way. This is just a suggestion. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, But yeah, so that's one way we can go about dating. And also I want to talk about dating a little bit more, because I feel like, especially right now, in the dating pool, like I feel like a lot of people are complaining about what's out there, and the dating scene, and how everybody's trash, essentially. Like, that's the story. And it goes back to just it goes back to when you're dating, right? And you're in this process of dating, like, are you looking at this person for what they can give you? Are you looking at this person for what you can get? Or um let's see, what else, how this person could be an asset to your life, and that's it. Like, you're not thinking about how you can return the favor, or how um this person is also a human being that's also going through different things, and might want to help them out with that. But I think with dating, we put too much expectations on what we want, and we have this list of, like, this person needs to check off all these categories, and if they don't, then they're not for me. And it's okay to have expectations. It's okay to want a certain standard, but I think what's missing in our dating pool today is that we expect people to be perfect, and there is no perfect person, which leads me to my third point, is that nobody's perfect. That's the gist that I got from reading this book, is that nobody's perfect. Everybody's going to come with their share of past, their challenges, and possibly trauma, and that's okay. It's okay. And also, I like the fact that the book talks about how we don't have to make one person responsible for meeting all of our needs. We don't have to have one person that has to meet every single last need that we need. It's okay to have multiple close relationships. I'm not saying it's okay to sleep with everybody. I'm not saying it's okay to date multiple people. That's up to your discretion. But what I'm saying is that a close friend, a best friend, a teacher friend, if you happen to be a teacher, if you have a work bestie, these other relationships that exist outside of, like, more intimate relationships are important, because it helps take the pressure off of that one individual who you might want to have a life with. It's like, yeah, you can have a life with them, and that's cool, but you don't want to burden them with having to meet all of your needs, just like they shouldn't burden you with meeting all their needs, because one person, that's a lot for one person. And um you know it says, the book talks about how subconsciously we believe that we must share the same values and goals to be in love. So, like, for example, how we choose to spend, like, a Sunday, we might expect the person that we're in love with to also want to spend their Sunday the same way we want to spend our Sunday. Or, we might want to have children at a certain time, and that person may not want to have a child at that time, so we feel like they don't love us. Or we expect that person to get married or take the relationship to the next step, when we might not necessarily be ready for that. And I love, this is a part of the book that it really resonated with me, because it was like, just because one person isn't ready doesn't mean that they don't love you. It doesn't mean that the relationship is doomed, right? It doesn't mean that we stop right here. It just means that we have now, this is, I like the way, let me put exactly how the book put it, because I love this. It says that hold on. Clarity, where is it at? Clarity. I don't see it. Okay, so I'm gonna just say it in my own words, because I can't find it in my notes. But basically, when we aren't on the same page, and when we communicate that now provides the relationship with clarity. It's not a dooming. It's not like this relationship is over, we're done, this is it, you don't want to move on. Well, I don't want to. If you don't want to move on, then that's it. Like, it's like we give people ultimatums, and that's not love. And it's like, it's not necessarily bad that we're on different pages. It's just we have clarity now on how to proceed, how to move forward, what steps we need to take, what answers we need to solve, what problems we need to solve, what questions we need to figure out. Like it just gives us clarity. And if we say that we're down for this person, we want to build a life with this person, we have to respect their timing, respect their space, respect these things. So, and I like how the book says that creating something together is better than wanting the same thing, right? So, like, I want you to be on the same page as me, but also us creating a whole different page is way better than us being on the same page. And, you know, sometimes we expect our partners to channel our emotions and our desires, and that's just not realistic. It's okay to make certain dreams for your relationship a reality. But rhythms and routines must be established that create space to nurture the relationship slowly and carefully. So it's okay for you to want these dreams and for you to want these aspirations for your relationship, but you have to learn how to create those rhythms and those routines with your partner so that you guys can structure in, what needs to take place so that you can essentially enjoy this life that you want with this person. And, those systems and routines can look like having quality time carved into your schedule. What else? Having so when you have quality time carved into the schedule, you don't have to wonder when someone will call. Your relationship is not damned or doomed. It's just because someone's pace and commitment may be different from yours. And we don't have to have any false expectations from our partner. We don't have to place that pressure on them. We can allow them the space and time to commit, and all that. There's paces. And I'm not saying this is like, don't be in a relationship with someone, or be in a relationship with someone who's unwilling to commit. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that sometimes people need a little bit more time, and they need a little bit more time to figure things out. And, rushing them to commit or rushing them to figure those things out is not fair. And also, I think that some of this you kind of have to use your own intuition and gut with, because sometimes some people can say certain things, like they might not be ready to commit, or they might not be ready for a relationship, but that might not necessarily mean that they don't love you or that they don't want a relationship with you. It just means that just not right now, and you have to appreciate that honesty. I feel like you have to appreciate that honesty, and you can take it and do whatever you want with it. But brings me to my final point here, about this idea of relation shopping, and how kind of, going back to what I said about the current dating pool, relation shopping, and how dating sites and social media give us a false perception of what's really out there. So we feel like we have all these options because that's what's presented to us every day on social media and TV, and what else? Dating sites. We're scrolling through, swipe if you like, swipe if you don't, double tap, whatever. I'm not really too much on the dating sites, so I don't really know. But yeah, we have this idea that we have options, or that this is perfect person that just exists and is going to check off all of our check marks, and that's not true. I'm going to leave with this point that I think everyone should hear. Relationships are masterfully designed to annoy us. So if you are in a relationship, you probably can attest to this. And, I'm sure your partner is not 100% like someone that you want to be up under all the time. You get annoyed. But the book says it's extremely rare for love to flow naturally, and that tough issues are often seen as burdens in a relationship, when really they're opportunities to grow closer in love. And love grows by practice. So we cannot expect for something to improve if we don't actively practice that. And you know, I'm gonna go back to the very first point. We have to start with ourselves. We have to start with who we are. Learn who we are. Learn, what makes us tick, what makes us talk, and what we like and what we don't like, so that we can communicate that. And even, and I think also too, it's important to learn who you are outside. Like, once you end a relationship, it's important to sit still and really understand why that relationship ended. What was it that caused it? And what what roles and responsibilities did you play in that? I feel like that's important because it'll help you gain clarity on this whole karma thing, so that you can change your story, change your narrative, and end up in a better situation, a better relationship, where you can, foresee or avoid some conflicts altogether, because you've already experienced it in your last relationship. And that's why I think singleness is a beautiful thing. Being single is a beautiful thing. Being by yourself in solitude and enjoying that time is a beautiful thing. Personally, I enjoy going to restaurants and only having to pay for myself, right? Like, there's perks to being in a relationship, there's perks to being with someone, but for the time being, personally, I'm enjoying being single. And I resonated with this book because it it what do you call it? It basically reminded me of why it's important to sit with myself, if that makes sense. Because it's not fun. It's not fun sitting with yourself sometimes, but you have to do it. You have to do it so that you can learn yourself. You can learn certain things about yourself, and take the information, move on, and grow from it. So, like I said, part 2, we're going to talk about it next week. I think that this book is a jewel, because I think that our society is struggling with love, especially ourselves, and definitely others. And love is a fragile topic sometimes, because people have experienced things. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in. And if you have any comments or questions about the book, just feel free to leave them down underneath this post. And y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Sunday. Have a good one. I'm out of here.